Welcome back to Tonight in Haddenfield. It is another Monday night, 9:24 p.m. Eastern Time, just outside. I'm so used to saying just outside Toronto, Ontario, Canada, but I'm not just outside Toronto anymore. So joining me, as always, it's my partner in crime, the physical media guru, as I like to refer to him as. It's Mr. Mean Dean Renner. What's going on, dude?
What's up, everybody? Happy to be back on Monday night. It's been a long weekend for me, so it's fun to finally kick back, relax, and get back to our regularly scheduled showtime.
Well, sort of. 9:24. For those of you that are wondering why we're a little late, we had two shows to do, or at least I had two shows to do prior to this one. The first one being really important, as it's one of the main channel sponsors we have here at Fandom Empire. They sponsor this show, and that's Colleague Nation. Just shout out right out at the top to Ryan and the sponsorship that he provides to not just this show, but Fandom Empire as a whole. Without guys like Ryan, guys like Chris, guys like Jason, guys like Jesse, and guys like Matt, it'd be hard to do the amount of content that we do and plan some of the things that we have coming up for all you. So big shout out to them. And then also it'll debut sometime this week. But episode 1 of the relaunched House of the Empire will debut this week. And it was probably we just recorded it. We were going to go live, but we were running behind. Probably the best 40-minute episode of anything I've ever recorded. I was shocked with how well it went. So if you're a Game of Thrones fan, Westeros fan, stay tuned to the channel. Look forward to that this week. But tonight, man, we're talking The Last Nightmare again. We're going to take a look at how their Indiegogo campaign's faring. Halloween Aftermath. You got Movie Countdown and Show and Tell back to back, which gives me a little bit of a breather. I definitely need one. And then, you know what? We're missing a topic there. So apologies, but we're missing the main topic on the menu, but I'll fix that during the show. And that is Haddenfield. There's so many different versions of or suggested ideas of what this Halloween TV series might consist of. But one of the most consistent ones that has been out there from so many different people is, what about a Halloween series based off Haddenfield? And we're going to talk about not necessarily what the story would be, because we've talked about that before, but whether or not you can name a Halloween TV series or even a new movie Haddenfield and still have it be as marketable as the Halloween name. Now, the Halloween name can be in there in a subtitle. We'll talk about that later. And then we'll obviously pay attention to the chat, get to as many of your questions and comments as we can. Dean, how's this week been for you, man? And what are you looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, I've just been resting. Like I said, long weekend. Work has been not too hectic, but enough for the past about 3 weeks. We've been fairly busy with some events and stuff. So I'm happy to be catching up on rest and be able to kind of, like I said, kick back and relax here and chat with everybody. And I'm looking forward tonight to getting into, all the stuff about the Haddenfield series and if it's marketable or not. So I think I have some ideas.
Yeah. First of all, I can talk this week, so apologies to those of you that tuned in last week. I really struggled through that. That was tough. That was one of the hardest recordings I've probably ever done. And big shout out to Dean and James, who carried that show. I'm still not better. You can probably hear it in my sinuses. But the voice is back. So that's a start. You kind of need to be able to have a voice to get through an hour of this. So it's, want to give a shout out to our buddy Sham too in the chat. I should be able to make certain people moderators during this too. I forgot about that. YouTube is weird where you type in someone's name in your settings page, and even though that's their name, it doesn't pop up. So sometimes you got to add staff as you're live. Dude, I'm surprised you even want to be on here with me tonight, because I think I've probably annoyed the fuck out of you the last 48 hours while looking into a home theater entertainment system. Look, if you're buying anything of value in 2024, you should do as much research as possible, because it's an investment. Yeah. And I know I, for one, have definitely gotten that wrong on more than one occasion. So I've definitely been talking Dean's ear off the last 48 hours or so. And I picked it. I got it. The TV's got it anyway. Nice. Now we just got to wait for the surround sound. I'm excited for show and tell tonight too, though. I know what you have for that. I
Mhm.
don't know what you have for movie countdown, or at least I don't remember because it was what was scheduled a couple of weeks ago. So
Yeah.
definitely stay tuned. We got a lot in store, including future content. You know what? Let's knock future content off the list right now instead of it being at the bottom. Then I can replace that in the graphic. And that is we have and I'm going to use the word tentatively, just in case anything comes up between now and then. But we got a bit of a surprise in store next week, and Dean and I are scheduled, anyways, to be joined by the host of the Take One podcast, as well as the former host here at Fandom Empire Live and the Overlook Drive-In. Mike Bish is scheduled to make his return to the channel next week, and we're going to talk the Halloween Expanded Universe. We haven't talked to him about any of it, and then obviously there's been a lot of back and forth with the Scream franchise and where they're going. And it certainly seems like, they seemed primed to, maybe reset and, take a breather. And all indications the last month or so seem to be that might not happen for better or for worse. So
Hmm.
we'll definitely take a look at that. That's next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. No shows beforehand on that Monday, so we'll be live right at 9. And it'll be exciting because I could be wrong. I don't think you, Mike, and I have ever been on at the same time. I don't know if Mike was on when you came on for Halloween Kills or not, if he'd already gotten off, but there's a bunch of other people on at that time.
Yeah.
So definitely
Yeah.
excited for that.
Yeah. No, that was a big panel. I actually went back and rewatched that not too long ago, and I think there was like 10 or 11 of us that I might have counted, but yeah, Bish was in there. We had pretty much everybody that was involved with the channel at the time on that night for the Kills review. So, but that is the one and only time that me and Mike and you have all been on for the same show.
Yeah, no. So it'll be exciting to see what happens
Yeah.
there. The last few weeks we've had various people on. Back-to-back weeks we had James Grimm on to talk about Halloween aftermath, which we'll dive into in a second. But we also had Braden Timmons on, who's doing The Last Nightmare, which is a follow-up to his first Halloween film, fan film, which is a follow-up to Halloween H2O, a sequel to that film. So I just wanted to stop in for a second, man, and give those guys some attention because I think both of them have wonderful Halloween projects on the go that deserve more attention than perhaps that they're getting. Although it seems like both guys are really happy with how they are performing. So let me bring this up here. The Last Nightmare, Part 1, has 11 days left in its goal. 71 backers so far, $7,504 Canadian. They're about 63% of the way there, and they've been offering some incredible deals on their perks. I happen to pick up. Where are we here? Did they sell out? He might have sold out of them.
I think they did. I thought they would still be listed, but it looks like they might have been pulled, which makes sense to not oversell. But yeah.
So they had the Black Case Blu-ray, which is going to be
Mhm.
signed by Braden, and I was able to pick up one of them. I still got to go and do the 4K Halloween Aftermath one, but we got some time on
Yeah.
that front. But yeah, if you have a chance to support these creators, not only are they creators that, they're not just winging this shit. They have done it before. They're doing it the proper way. And I honestly think they deserve all the support in the world. So if you want to see Halloween projects come to life prior to this Halloween TV series and or movie, to me, these are the two that should be getting the most attention. And I think it's worth checking out. Again, Last Nightmare is at 63% of its flexible goal with 11 days to go. I think they have a good chance of hitting their goal, and I think that'd be fantastic for Braden and the crew. I'm really excited to see what they bring, and I really liked the Black Case design and the Michael mask laying in the autumn leaves there. The case alone got me, man.
Yeah. I unfortunately missed out on that, but I'll still have a chance to get in there and pick up some Blu-rays and some stuff. I like to kind of jump in and get everything available at once, if possible. So if I can pick up a copy of his first one and then this one at the same time, I would like to go ahead and do that. And then I imagine when he does part 2, I'll just fill in the empty gap when they go live with their Indiegogo for that and pick up the last Blu-ray. So I'll still manage to get all three. I just missed out on the black case with the signature.
I do wonder if they'll do more of them because they did sell out. So.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right, so that brings us to James Grimm and Grimnuts Productions and what those guys are doing with Halloween Aftermath, which we were really lucky enough to share the footage of here on Fandom Empire, and then we also shared better quality version of that over on our Legacy of Halloween channel, and that video has actually been doing very, very well over there. So I'm glad that it's getting the attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
They're very early in their campaign still. They're just a shade under $4,000 Canadian, about 40% on the goal, but there's 46 days left. There's so much time for them to do so much more. And I know he didn't rule out the idea of doing the 4K steel case still, just that the research on that end was not going great in terms of affordability for all of us and our ability to pick it up. But he did do the black case 4K edition of the movie, which before coming on this channel they hadn't even done. It was a conversation we had with him, and then days later they had decided to do it. 4 out of 15 claimed. I believe Dean and I and one other person I'm not going to name are set on claiming 3 of those 15 remaining. So again, just an absolutely stunning looking movie, opening footage of sorts from Halloween Aftermath, set for release next fall 2025. I really think that this is being done on a level that's just, in terms of Halloween fan films, I don't think it's been done. I think this is as close to like Never Hike Alone type quality that you're getting, and it's the Halloween style of it, and it's just such a behemoth of a project, and I'm really hopeful that those guys hit their goal. It sounds like they're going to do it regardless, but hey, the more of us that help them reach their goal or even push past their goal, the better quality film we're going to see for sure. Any thoughts on Aftermath before we move on, Dean?
Yeah, like we already mentioned, I mean, super high quality, right up there with like Never Hike Alone and Dave with It's Me, Billy. So this is definitely something I think people should definitely be paying attention to. Head over to our Legacy Halloween channel to look at that video. If you didn't catch the first 10 minutes of the footage, I think it's well worth it. And, you know, if it's in your budget and you feel like helping out, go ahead and, you know, go on their Indiegogo and, you know, do what you can. Either pick up a perk or even just a small donation helps them along the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so impressed with what they're doing, and I cannot wait to see the final product. Like I sounds probably a bit overboard, but like I'm as excited for this as I was for some of the actual Halloween movies coming out. Like I think they're doing that level of quality. I did ask. James replied to me. I've had no time to read it, and I see he's in the chat. But I do want to try to get Cole on here, who many of you might know as Cole's Edits. That being said, he lives in a much different time zone than we do. Right. And if he was to, and I believe he has a young family as well. So if he was to come on here, that's like 2:00 in the morning, his time to start. So if he can't make it, then I get it. But we definitely hope to have him on and follow both of these projects closely. I know Braden will be on in the not too distant future as well. But again, if you're a Halloween fan, if you're a fan of Michael Myers and want to see people give that character in this franchise some love, I can't stress enough, support these 2 projects. They're crowdfunding projects, but they absolutely deserve all of our attention, really.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for both. I hope the Indiegogos kind of, you know, pick up some steam and help them guys out. But regardless, both of these projects are definitely something we should all be paying attention to.
Dean, if you don't mind here, before you know what we'll do? We'll let you do movie countdown. And then we'll come back and let's catch up on the chat because there's a lot going on. People were getting comments in way before the stream even started. Which, by the way, if you haven't yet, please take a moment to like, comment, subscribe, slash the notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future content. There's ton of it coming. We still got to go back and do the final part of the reboot trilogy from Drew, and that's the Fires of Samhain, I believe. So we're going to do that, and we have Patreon content coming. It's just a matter of finding time. It's coming, though, rest assured. Regardless, any support is helpful. Whether you want to send in a super chat, support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. It's in the graphic bar up there. But honestly, just following us on social media. The Legacy of Halloween on Facebook, Fandom Empire Now on Facebook, on Twitter, or whatever you call it, at Fandom Empire Now, and pay attention to Instagram because we have some things going on that are in the works that is, I know our Instagram page has been inactive for quite some time, but we got some things going on there. And honestly, many thanks are owed to the, I guess you could say, the recently reformatted, we've reformatted Fandom Empire into 3 different divisions. We have a team for Halloween and horror, if you will, a team for Star Wars, and a team for Westeros. And people like Brittany, Chris, Rachel, Shem, Travis, and more are really helping get this thing going on many levels. So we have expansion of sorts coming. Just stay tuned. And I do know a couple of people have asked about merch, which we haven't done in like a couple of years. It's on the agenda. It's just not right this second. Let us get all this stuff up, and it will come. I know I want to get a Tonight in Haddenfield hoodie, so even for myself. But Dean, that show, or not show and tell, movie countdown, man, it's all yours.
All right. So digging through my crates, I guess we'll call them, are off the shelves behind me. About a couple weeks ago, wanted to throw on, a slasher or something fun. And this one's definitely one that doesn't get talked about a whole lot at all. So this is around 2014. Not quite a remake and not quite a sequel, although at the same time, sort of a remake and sort of a sequel. The original movie came out in 1979 and was remade in 2014 by Blumhouse. So it's, an early to mid 2000s horror kind of remake or sequel reimagining, kind of falls into those categories. And that movie here is The Town That Dreaded Sundown. The original comes off more like a documentary and a film at the same time. So the original itself is pretty, it's an interesting watch. And then to see the way that this was reimagined and redone, it kind of follows suit, and it's along the same lines, but some Easter eggs and changes were made to kind of bring it up to modern day back in 2014. So this is a fun one, some decent cast in here. Let's see where I started here. Like I mentioned, it's kind of like watching a movie, but it comes off like a documentary because there's narration throughout it to kind of catch you up to speed with certain things. So it kind of falls in an interesting category between like movie documentary, which I think is kind of cool every now and then to do something like that. Sound design in that was pretty good. It was nothing that would like knock your socks off, but overall I think it was pretty good. However, cinematography I think is done very well. You got a lot of dark shots and low lighting, and they make use of some red lighting throughout some of the kill scenes and other scenes in the movie pretty well. So I was happy with the cinematography. Some of the cast that's featured in it, you get Anthony Anderson. Surprisingly, Danielle Harris has a cameo in the background as like a townsperson, but I've yet to spot her. I've watched it like 2 or 3 times and I can't pick out where she's at. So I'm still kind of trying to figure her part out. Gary Cole, he was another mentionable name. He's fairly recognized. If you kind of look him up and his image pops up, you'll recognize his face. And then Spencer Treat Clark, who was the younger kid from The Last House on the Left, 2009. He was the kid who was in the family from that movie. So some pretty noticeable people in that. The storyline for this movie is basically a modern killer returns as the original killer from the 1979 version of this movie. It's set in Texarkana, which is on the border of Texas and Arkansas. And he kind of comes back and wants the whole town to remember the events that happened in the 40s and in the 70s that basically were the whole notion of the original film that happened. So like I mentioned, a couple callbacks and Easter eggs. It's, I find it hard to believe it's not a remake or a sequel because it follows the original so well and lines up like how that movie played out. It really seems like it's a modern remake. So that's kind of where it sits for me. They did a pretty good job paying homage to the original. And then the reimagining is they kind of stray away from that and go into more of like a movie, more fiction and more entertainment side of it. So it's a fun watch. It happens about 65 years after the original happened, so that's where it brought it up to 2014. It was called the Moonlight Murders, so that's basically what this killer coming back wants the town to remember. So it's a typical slasher. One by one, people start getting picked off, and it kind of stirs up everything that happened back in the 70s. So people start, locking doors and sealing windows and trying to, avoid what happened previously. So, yeah, I mean, it's a fun watch. It's nothing that's going to really kind of blow you away, but if you want to throw a fun slasher on, and you haven't seen the original, this one does a good job of tying back to that one, catching the audience up to speed, and then kind of giving you a fun modern slasher for the time. So, yeah, it's going to wrap up Movie Countdown with the 2014 version of The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
I won't lie, I've never heard of that, man. It's
Ah,
completely new to me.
yeah,
Um,
the original is basically where you get the ripoff of Sackhead Jason. This is the original killer that had the sack over his head that everybody kind of remembers and recognizes, which is the look that they gave Jason in part 2.
nice. All right, so that's gonna shift our gears over to the chat for a second. Let's catch up on some things that we've missed. Let's go back here. I won't be able to pull up everybody, so apologies ahead of time. Alessandro says long Monday, but I'm glad I'm here to enjoy Halloween talk. Pleasure to have you. Jesse says nursing a crazy hangover from vacation, but it was worth every second of it.
Nice.
Hope you are happy with that. That's fucking hilarious. You got my message? Did you?
Is that me or Jess?
You.
Oh, yeah, I just saw it.
Yeah, I just checked and I wouldn't know if it wasn't till now.
Interesting.
Wow, you talk about being fucking petty.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got here? Chris is in the house. Jim Bob is in the house. What else do we got? A lot of short ones. Dustin says a show based on Haddenfield would have a huge number of people who would have no idea what Haddenfield is, depending on what the show is. Slash would continue to have no idea until Michael Myers pops up. We're going to touch on that later, but I think that the concern is valid.
Yeah.
Joel's in the house. Happy to see you. Same with you too, James. Pleasure to have you back as always. Joel says Bish is coming back. Yeah. We're excited to have him on the show next week. Terry says, yeah, I saw the original at the drive-in triple feature.
Oh, wow.
With the Evictors and Food of the Gods. Well, that's an interesting triple feature.
Yeah.
I had to stop for gasoline once in Texarkana. You're lucky to find anyone there who has a full set of teeth. Well, I don't have a full set of teeth either. So, Freddie says, Town That Dreaded Sundown was barely paying attention and already knew what Dean was talking about. Good stuff. So that basically catches up on the chat for now, which means it's time for my favorite segment of the show, where Dean takes us on a ride to show and tell.
All right. So, I believe it was last year, Jaws 2 celebrated its 45th anniversary. So the original came out pretty well, so I figured why not go ahead and pick up part 2 on 4K. So once again, we get options from within the states, and they're pretty bare minimum. So I start looking around for import stuff. So let's start here. This is our basic Jaws 2 4K. Bonus features were on here. Not too bad. They're deleted scenes, the making of Jaws 2, a portrait by actor Keith Gordon. John Williams is the music of Jaws 2, so they cover the score. A featurette called The French Joke, and some storyboards. So this was fairly light. You know, this is all the contents of the package. You get a slipcover and a 4K case, and that's it. So artwork's not too different as well. So I couldn't be happy with just that. So I start looking around, and I find import sets. And of course, I have to go ahead and track myself down a UK exclusive. This one, again, UK exclusive, limited to 2,000. So you can see there, I got 1824 out of 2,000 of those made. In typical collector fashion, we get a steelbook version, booklet, a small fold-out poster, and some art cards. And then the front cover here, it's not showing up on camera, but it is lenticular. So that image shifts a little bit. Oh, it's popping up a little bit of the shark in the water. And then you get the nice image on the back of the case. Nothing too crazy, but still a nice cardboard slip. And then what I do like about this is the steelbook here. Not only is it a nice finish, but if you look and we compare it to the first one, on the first one, you have the image of the girl water skiing. And then on the steelbook, you get the image from inside the shark's mouth of what he would be seeing as he was chasing her. So I just thought that was a really cool touch to kind of flip the image like that. Really cool, kind of little attention to detail. Nice images on the inside. Blu-ray and a 4K here. They do have those UK ratings on the discs, which I don't really like, but it's not a deal breaker. And then we get a nice image on the beach right there. So super nice on the steelbook. I was very happy with that design. And then some other fun little trinkets and inclusions here. We get a small scale fold out movie poster. They went ahead and did double-sided on that, so that's pretty cool. So you get two options on how to display that. Cool stuff. We have our art cards per usual, so we get a few of these. Right, yeah. Just says Jaws 2 on the back. That one to the side. Another beach image. That's a better look at what the backs look like. And just some cool, fun stuff here. I think there's only these 4. Yeah, so they did 4. And then we get our booklet. This one's not as big as some of the other ones, but nonetheless, still nice to include. Let's see our table of contents in here, what it has. Nope, they just get right into it. So typical stuff like interviews with people and just, you know, fun facts about the movie and what it goes into, and a bunch of nice images and stuff in, you know, your typical booklet fashion. There's some quotes and stuff in here. So fun stuff. And yet another import version that outdoes the US version. So yeah, that is Jaws 2 from the UK in 4K.
It seems to be a common thing, or maybe I'm reading too much into it, man. Imports have a lot of people that support them.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say more often than not, an import just is better than what is released over here?
Nowadays, yeah. It didn't used to be like that. We used to get all kinds of good stuff over here, but the import market, or what would be considered our import market, you know, getting stuff from overseas, especially nowadays, just they're still really paying attention to these kind of releases and doing like above average stuff like this. So lucky enough, like I said, we have some retailers here that import this stuff from overseas and will sell and ship all throughout North America, and in some cases even like worldwide. Like they'll ship it off somewhere else that might not be able to import it from the UK to them. So you know, we're lucky enough to have that as a resource.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of imports people don't even know exist.
Oh yeah,
In terms of like different cases and features even.
I've seen some crazy stuff. There's I forget, I think it's Euphoria Pictures on YouTube. If you guys think I have, you know, a somewhat impressive collection, go on his page, check out one of his videos, whether it's a review or just maybe like a room tour. That guy over there has stuff that I've never even seen in the US. It's like massive releases that come with like big like bust style statues, and then in the back of the statue there's an opening that holds the case, and that has all of your discs and your content and all your stuff with that in it. But I'm talking like he's got like a predator bust that's like it's huge, like the statue's just gigantic, and they get all kinds of stuff like that. Like his room is very impressive. He's just got display cases full of like these wild special editions that they get over there, which I'm sure are not cheap. So yeah, we kind of, we get some good stuff here, but I don't think we get anything like overseas gets.
Yeah, I would tend to agree just from some of the things that I've saw.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. So you did Jaws 2 here.
Mhm.
Jaws isn't something we've talked about a lot on this channel, which is really
It's not.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a fan of the first movie.
Hmm.
I think it's just, one of the legendary pictures ever made.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the sequel. I don't think
Hmm.
it's great, but I think it's a serviceable sequel
Yeah.
that is worth people's time. But it kind of stops there for me. Like
Yeah.
after, I don't think the others offer much.
No.
What's your take on anything post Jaws 2?
Yeah, they're fun watches for me. You can't take them all that seriously at all. Jaws 3 is kind of okay. I do like the is that the water park? Yeah, that's the one where they're in the water park, I think, and then they have the whole underground tunnel and everything. I think that's part 3 if I'm remembering correctly. I haven't watched 3 in a long time. And then 4, Jaws of Revenge. I know that gets dragged through the mud like pretty much all the time. It's really not something that people really even give a whole lot of credit to. However, I grew up watching The Revenge for some reason. I had a VHS of it, and I was a kid, and for some reason, I just always found myself throwing it on, probably just because it was a Jaws movie. Um, Nowadays it I've caught on, and it's like a lot of it's pretty unrealistic. You have a great white in the Bahamas in warm water, which just doesn't add up and lie and make sense. But yeah, I mean, Jaws 1 and 2 for me are at least must owns. I think I have the other two on Blu-ray, and like they were in a small like 3 disc collection set that came with 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, Chris, that's one of its strong points is it did have a good cast, but it kind of unfortunately stops there. um, but yeah, so like I don't know, I don't mind 3 and 4 all that much. They're just kind of fun to throw on every now and then. But if you're talking like legitimately good movies, you got to stick to the first two.
Dustin says, going to get a lot of hate for this, but would love a proper Jaws sequel, practical effects, and have it set right after the second movie and have
That
it
would
be in
work.
modern times.
I'd sign up for that. I would watch that.
Yeah, there's a lot of shark movies that have obviously, I
Yeah,
mean, more than I care to count that have happened since the first couple of Jaws movies. And
yeah.
I got to tell you, a lot of them just don't do it for me.
No, it's all CGI, and it's all like just let's go big and ridiculous and pure entertainment value. But yeah, I don't dive into too many shark films all that much past Jaws.
I mean, I can't say I blame you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the main event tonight, and that is a Haddonfield TV series. Man, I want to go back to a comment that was made earlier in the chat
Hmm.
because I think there's a lot to it. Dustin says a show based on Haddonfield would have a huge number of people who would have no idea what Haddonfield is, and depending on what the show is, would continue to have no idea until Michael Myers pops up. Where do you fall with this?
I feel like it might be a little more recognizable than we might think. Although the horror fandom and the bubble that we're in is fairly small compared to the rest of like the movie going audience. So you could be onto something there with that. Um, but I also think that's where marketing comes in, because if they're going to want to draw in a new audience, they're going to want people to know what this is. So your marketing strategy is going to be it's going to be called Haddonfield, but you're going to want people to know that this is a Halloween series that's based, in the town of Haddonfield and involves Michael Myers in some capacity. So I think if your marketing is creative enough, or at least just pays attention to detail and knows how to rope in your hardcore fans and your average audience, I think it can be done.
Man, I just don't know because I think the average going audience can get confused about
Very.
a lot.
Yeah.
For example, not to bring up Star Wars on a Halloween show, but The Force Awakens was Star Wars' first movie in 10 years.
Mhm.
And the very next year, there was a movie called Rogue One. And many people just assumed that Rogue One was a sequel to The Force Awakens, despite marketing saying otherwise.
Right.
Average going audience members still thought, well, it's the next Star Wars movie. Wrong.
Yeah.
Another example of that, Doctor Sleep. Now, a lot of us knew what Doctor Sleep was going to be, but there was a lot of people that had no idea that this was a sequel to The Shining until they seen, oh, wait, that's the Overlook.
Mhm.
Kind of like Dustin's pointing out about, hey, until Michael Myers pops up. I believe that a lot of people will know what it is, but in terms of marketing to your average going audience member, I think Michael Myers as a symbol is identifiable.
Mhm.
Haddenfield, the name, some town outside of New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
So
I've been there. So yeah, I've been to Haddonfield.
I would love the title and I would love the premise of it, especially if it's focusing on many different aspects of Haddenfield.
Mhm.
I'm for it.
Yeah.
I just don't see them doing it for the exact reason Dustin mentioned.
Yeah, which I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, our bubble is smaller than we realize. So, reaching out to a large audience to pull people in to know what it is, you really have to drive it home that this is something that's involved with Halloween and Michael Myers.
Yeah, marketing is such a weird thing, especially when it comes to like the small screen.
Yeah.
And then there's if a movie leads into the series, is the movie titled Haddenfield, or do you
Right.
start with the new Halloween movie and then lead in? I still think even with Halloween, you do the movie first, then you do the series.
Mhm.
And the series is titled Haddenfield, but it's made clear that, hey, this is a spin-off of this movie. I think it might be workable. Like, I don't know what the official title is for Colin Farrell's Penguin show over on HBO. I don't know if it's just called Penguin or
Yeah.
what, but like obviously it's a
Yeah.
spin-off from the Batman. And
Mhm.
but I still think there's a lot of general audience that, we'll see if it is called just the Penguin,
Mhm.
we're gonna kind of be like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Like, what is this? Yeah. I think that's what they were calling it, unless that was like a working title and they're going to change it and rename it. As far as I knew, that's what it was supposed to be called, was just the Penguin.
Yeah, I mean it just leads to so many different possible things. Again, I call back to Wolfman Gotnard's concept poster he did.
Yeah.
Barry's his name.
Mhm.
He has Haddonfield, the knife coming down.
Right.
His concept was if Flanagan did it.
Mhm.
I love what he did with that.
Yeah.
To me, that's marketable to Halloween fans.
Right.
But is it marketable to non-Halloween fans? I
No.
don't know, man. Like
Yeah, I don't.
I think whatever we get is gonna have Halloween in the title somewhere.
Yeah, like a subtitle, tagline of some sort, something. Like I said, they have to make it identifiable to a much wider fan base than just, the hardcore Halloween fans, or even just, you're not so hardcore, but people who are familiar with it.
Rachel says, "Hey, Flix says I never watched the Scream series. Did it have the desired effect?" I'm gonna let Dean answer this question first, just for some shits and giggles. But
Yeah.
honestly, we've come to the end of our timeline in terms of discussions for tonight. So if anybody wants to fill the chat up with questions or comments or anything
Yeah, go for
Halloween
it.
related, please do. I'm sure we can touch more on this Haddonfield thing, but it's a
Yeah.
shorter show tonight for sure. And next week will probably be a longer than normal show in
Yeah.
the 90-minute range. There's a lot on the agenda
Mhm.
already. But again, Flix, I never watched the Scream series. Did it have the desired effect? Well, I know how you feel about Scream,
Yeah.
but maybe tell the audience how it's affect or why you feel the way you do about
Yeah.
Scream.
So if we're talking about the TV series for Scream, that's something I've never checked out. I've heard a lot of mixed stuff about that. If we're talking about the franchise itself, I definitely give credit where it's due with the first film, and then even part two I think was a decent sequel follow up, and then for me they kind of just follow suit. Like three is okay, four is okay. They're watchable. They're like fun slashers and whatnot. Then we had that long break, and 5 was coming out, and then I really got a taste of what a lot of their fandom is like. And let me tell you, it's a very difficult fan base to deal with, just because they're very passionate, but it's getting into discussions with them. If you don't agree with them, they kind of it's like they jump on your back and they'll dogpile. So it's you have to kind of prepare yourself for those discussions with a lot of the Scream fans, because they kind of stick by their franchise. So, and I get it. We could be like that with Halloween, but it's a different animal over there in the Scream fan base. So that for me was like a big kind of turn off. And once you kind of get a taste of how their fans are, you kind of start to look at Scream from a different like perspective, and realize like maybe it's not quite on this pedestal that the fan base kind of holds it up on. And people probably say that about plenty of other fandoms, and the movies aren't as good as everybody seems, and I get it. But yeah, that was like a big turnoff for me. So that's kind of when I started picking out like more and more stuff within the movies that was just like, this kind of doesn't add up, or that doesn't really make sense, or you got holes here and there, and things along that line. So I'm still sticking with the original being very credible, and 2 is a good sequel, but then I think they kind of go downhill from there. And then 5 and 6 for me don't quite work as well as they do with the rest of like the horror fan base. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
We're going to talk a little bit about 6 next week, so I don't want to dive into that right now, but none of the movies have matched 1 or 2 for me. Actually, I like 2 more than 1. I feel like 1 drags a bit, but sorry, I thought I seen something in the chat there. I'll say this: I'm a Star Wars fan. It's my number 1 love in terms of fandom stuff.
Yeah.
I'm the last person that has any right to throw shade at anybody else's fandom, as long as Star Wars continues to be the way it's been for the last easy 6 or 7 years. I think every fandom has their passionate fans, and then some of them go way too far.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. I just think there's a certain way people should deal with things, and a way they shouldn't. Not that I'm perfect, far from it, but I've seen toxicity in Scream, Halloween, Star Wars, any fandom you could imagine.
Yeah.
But it does seem like some of the stuff that you showed me too, that like some of the Scream stuff is just wow. Like it reminds me of some of the Star Wars stuff, and I never thought like the horror community would get as intense, or pardon my term, fucking crazy as some of the stuff that happens over in the Star Wars community. It's like, oh boy. But yeah, that's kind of where I fall with Scream.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, just take a step back. Remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about movies. We're talking about entertainment. There's no reason to get nuts and jump down people's throats because they don't agree with you or something. Talk about it, chat it out. But to lose your mind over it, and then get the claws and the teeth out, and just go after someone on such a level where you're like, okay, back off, like easy. It's just about movies. Like it's pretty wild to see and deal with if you've ever kind of dipped your toe into that at all. It's intense.
Absolutely. There's a level of hypocrisy that goes on with content creation and people that love fandoms, and it should be enjoyable, people.
Right.
Like, you're not supposed to get stressed out about loving something. You're supposed to enjoy it. Life is fucking short. You shouldn't have to worry about some dick threatening to show up at your house because you didn't agree with him about the ending of the movie. Like, it's
crazy.
Some of the shit that you see out there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I won't come off that. It's just fucking batshit crazy. Dustin with another good point here. I just have little faith the series will be any good, considering the other horror franchise TV series runs, other than a very few outliers. I liked the first season of that Scream show. I thought it was different, and then it became more of the same.
Yeah.
I'm not a Chucky guy, so I have not watched that series. I've heard some decent things about it, but I've also heard some bad things about it that doesn't have the same feel or tone as the movies did.
Right.
Friday the 13th, aka Crystal Lake, I remain very hopeful about,
Hmm.
because Hannibal from Brian Fuller was incredible. Hannibal is one, like, I'll take Hannibal the TV series over Silence of the Lambs. Just
Oh
me.
wow.
The cast is just so fucking fantastic, and some of the shit that happens in it is so twisted and stomach turning, and um, it's just really an incredible piece of art. Uh, and I do think, in terms of a Halloween series, as much as I would like to say, hey, here's plan on watching any good movies after the stream. No idea. Probably bedtime. Um, but yeah, no, I just I want Haddonfield, the Halloween series, to not necessarily replicate, but have the quality that
Yeah.
Hannibal did. And I got to tell you, like, that's aiming real high, and I
Mhm.
don't know if they can match that.
Yeah, Hannibal's one that I still have to check out based off your recommendation. So it's definitely something I'd like to look into. It's a pretty high bar to set it above Silence of the Lambs, so that's an interesting take as well. But yeah, the Chucky series for me, I tried to watch a couple episodes and got bored with it pretty quick. So I might agree that it's not quite up there with the movie quality. I can always go back and give it another shot, but we'll see. I'm hopeful for Crystal Lake. They're supposed to start shooting, I think, this spring and summer, so that's not too far off. So hopefully we'll start to get some maybe set images and behind the scenes details about that, so we can kind of come back here and have a chance to talk about that as it develops.
Yeah, we just finished recording an episode of House of the Empire where we're talking about release dates and when we're going to see stuff, and like most of you, I want to see a new Halloween movie. I want to see a new Halloween series, or the
Mhm.
first Halloween series. I want to see Crystal Lake, and yet at the same time, I would rather wait a substantial amount of time and have them get it right, than rush and not get it right, which
Yeah.
has been an MO for this show, and something that we've talked about many times. Is as badly as we want something as quickly as we can get it, sometimes that's not the right way. More times than not, it's not the right way to go about things. So,
Mhm.
um, and again, other than names that we've speculated about and um, discussed that could be involved in the Halloween movie and or series, there's just so much, or there's so little information
Yeah.
about what's going on there. And yet with Crystal Lake, like, you have some of the cast, you have the
Mhm.
showrunner, you know who the guy is that's making the creative calls. Other than Maleka Cad and Miramax being involved officially,
Yeah.
we don't know anybody that's
Nothing.
attached to it, other than, again, some of the names that we speculated about, and maybe some names that when he was on here, Dustin McNeil alluded to as well. So
Mhm.
um, I again, just do it right, guys. Don't rush it. Be patient. Halloween Aftermath is 2025. I don't know when The Last Nightmare is supposed to come out. I don't know if that's a this year thing or a next year thing. I can't remember what Braden said, and I don't want to misquote him.
Yeah, me either.
I believe it comes before Halloween Aftermath. So, like,
Yes.
you're talking about two top tier fan films for Halloween to dive into, to bide your time until we actually get a series.
Yeah. Like I said, we should be looking forward to both of those. So, high quality stuff, and we've already seen a preview of Aftermath. So, I'm really looking forward to the both of them.
Dustin says they messed up on an Obi-Wan show. I couldn't imagine a world where the show ended up being what it was. I want all the stuff to be good. Yeah, it's cop out on budget and studio meddling, which sadly happens a lot with a lot of
Yeah.
franchises, including Halloween. Um, I mean, we have a great show tomorrow night that we can touch on Obi-Wan more, the legacy of Star Wars. But yeah, that's one where I had the highest of hopes. You had all the talent there, and you copped out on budget and rushed production. And when you do that, you get what you get. And hey, Obi-Wan is my favorite Star Wars character. Period. Maybe my favorite movie character or TV show character. Period. And even I can say, as someone who is definitely wearing the rose-colored glasses, um, there are elements of it that are really good, and then there's a lot of it that makes you go, "What the fuck did you do?" Like you had a gold mine there and you blew it.
Yeah.
They only get one shot at this, by the way. They
Mhm.
crash hard on a Halloween TV series the first time.
Yeah.
That's it. And then
Yeah.
the ability to go make a movie, if the series were to come first, which I don't think it's going to, but we'll see.
Mhm.
The ability to then turn around and go do something in the movie theater is going to be extremely hard. It's going to be a
Yeah.
hard sell, and it could be a long time before you see anything. So there's a lot of pressure for them to get whatever it is they're doing right.
Yeah. So it's probably better off that we're not hearing anything besides, Malakakad and Miramax being involved. So it's, let's play the long game here. Let's wait it out. Let's see, what comes from it, and not be clamoring for something, later this year or even next year. You mentioned possibly and more likely a movie first. I think that's where we should pay attention, and hopefully get a movie maybe next year. In 2025, along with the rest of the stacked lineup that we have coming, with everything else, not only just horror related, but just movie related in general.
Is there anything else you want to touch on? I got to do something really quickly, so we can't get off of air, but anything at all in the entertainment sphere or horror sphere that you want to touch on?
We can go to the chat if there's anything. I think there's some upcoming stuff that we haven't talked about. Like, I know what you did last summer, and the Black Phone 2. Possibly a Nightmare on Elm Street, 40th anniversary, something coming. So if anybody, in the chat wants to kind of chime in on that, we can touch on that kind of stuff for a little bit.
Now, there's the shitty thing with Studio. You can't, it only lets you go so far back. I was trying to add Brittany and Travis as moderators, but I think they commented back towards the beginning, and it won't let me go all the way back there, which is frustrating, but it is.
Yeah, it sucks.
I didn't see anything else in there. Adding to the lore of the shape is a big one, right? Like,
yeah,
I think when you're doing a TV show, you got to be willing to do a deep dive. Not necessarily a character exploration, but more so how other people feel about said character and or interactions.
Yeah, you want them to feel like the original, Michael of old that we all know, which is, stalking and lurking in the shadows and playing with your victims before. So, the lore of the shape is hugely important.
The Oct says, "I love the difference in opinions. It'd be boring if everyone agreed." You're damn right. Like, if we all agreed on everything, what the fuck would we be on here? Yeah. Definitely not. For example, I don't think Dean's the biggest Dr. Sleep guy, and I thought it was arguably one of the best horror sequels ever made. So, we're talking a wide range of, a wide difference in opinion on that movie between Dean and I. And Dean's not threatening to come to my house and cave head in. So, yet, but I'm looking forward to a lot that's coming. 2025 is going to be such a massive year for horror. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to touch on what we got coming, and then we'll get off here. Next week, we're scheduled to have Mike Bish from the Take One podcast, former host Fandom Empire Live, and the Overlook Drive-In on. We're really excited about that. The following week, as long as nothing comes up, we're expected to have Fauci from Fauci Cinema on. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. And then we don't have a date for this yet. In the chat, we have a live stream plan where it's probably going to be a couple hours long, and Dean, Chris, and myself are going to sit on here, and much like this window that I was showing off earlier, where I'm down here in the corner and we're focused on Dean, it'll be Dean and I down here in the corner carrying a discussion with our buddy Chris, who will be making a Michael Myers mask live on stream, and Chris and I got to figure out some details on that still, but looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.
How far he can get into it in a couple hours, because I don't remember the process off the top of my head, but it'll be fun to watch him multitask and do his craft while being on here geeking out about Halloween with us. That's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know too many people have done that live on air before, so We're gonna make our best attempt at it, and I definitely have full faith in Chris. I've seen what he did firsthand, and looking forward to it. If you want to support the channel on another level, you can do so at patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Over on X, it's at Fandom Empire Now. Tonight, Haddenfield live every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Occasional Wednesdays if we have the content to get on there. Tomorrow night we have the Legacy of Star Wars. We're still designing the show for that. Jade says that way you can explore. Sorry, there's a couple of comments here. I think they should really play up the boogeyman angle and have his lore change slightly from season to season, or even every couple of episodes, and have the season like 2 to 3 stories in them that way you can also explore lore. Season of the Witch. We had Dustin on here, author of Taking Shape 1 and 2, and we were talking about Season of the Witch and if they do more with it. And I think there's so much storytelling opportunity there to do a bunch of it. I love that story. I love that movie. I just don't know how many studios are lining up to pay rights fees for movies and or TV series to do stories just based around that. Again, we talked about, I think it was last week or the week before, how I think it was last week where we had one of the Halloween creatives that has been on this channel before say that when he's talked to Maleka Cat about the upcoming series, they refer to it as the Halloween Expanded Universe.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see if that transitions. Definitely reminds me of Star Wars Expanded Universe. We'll have to wait and see what everything brings. But anyways, Dean, where can everybody find you at? What do you got going on these days, man?
You guys can all find me here weekly with Sean on Tonight in Haddenfield. Also over at the Legacy of Halloween Facebook group. We are approaching 280,000 members as of recent. So it's filling up over there pretty frequently. And thanks to our newly added moderators and admins for helping out over there. It definitely helps. And it helps maintain everything and keep everything kind of somewhat in control for what we can. And I'm just looking forward to getting into, our future episodes coming up and all the different, the guests that we have lined up and the content we have to talk about. So, guys, find me here weekly with Sean or over on the Legacy of Halloween, and join us here every week on Tonight in Haddenfield.
Starting not the first week of March, but the second week of March, we have some sort of Halloween horror March Madness tournament that will be starting and that we'll be covering week to week, and you'll be able to follow across various platforms of social media. Again, check us out on Twitter at Fandom Empire Now, Instagram's Fandom Empire Now, and there'll soon be a Tonight in Haddenfield one. I believe there's also a Tonight in Haddenfield Twitter, X, whatever. I think it's at TNIN Haddenfield. So check that out. Not much has happened over there yet. We're working on creating a TikTok. And also, I don't know how soon this will be. We're really trying to distribute this show on podcast platforms. The catch is Dean's show and tell doesn't really transition over to just listening. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload Dean's show and tell, which might get retitled with a different name on this channel or on Legacy of the Halloween or both, where it's just Dean and the physical media and the discussion that's clipped out of this episode. So that if you don't want to tune into the whole hour to hour and a half episode of Tonight in Haddenfield and you're just interested in what Dean brought to the table this week, you'll be able to do that in a short 5 or 10 minute video. But for those of you that get this on podcast platforms, it will not include Dean's show and tell. So be on the lookout for all that as it happens. Again, number one way to support us, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. And if you can't afford to support financially, we get it. It's, it's tough out there in the world, especially when you price gouge Canadians on electronics, you pieces of shit.
Crazy.
But anyways, like the video, comment, subscribe, slash the notification bell, share it around, since we apparently aren't allowed to in certain groups without any notification or any of that shit. But Dean and I will talk about that off air. If someone's listening right now and you know what I'm talking about, some notice would have been appreciated or some sort of warning. Pretty fucking petty, in my opinion. Anyways, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Don't forget, the boogeyman is in fact coming.